$100.10. This after the Energy Information Administration reported crude inventories, which come out every Wednesday, unexpectedly were pretty much flat, slightly declining for the week. There was an expectation that they would build.
Yeah, that's right, Liz. And now this was happening on the same day that the Senate failed to pass a Republican bill that would have expanded offshore drilling.
And with consumers desperately hoping and waiting for relief from soaring gasoline prices, our next guest wishes others would have joined her in voting yes. She is a Republican senator from Texas, Kay Bailey Hutchison. Well, tell us, Senator, why do you think this didn't? I mean, everybody wants gasoline prices lower, and they know that it makes their constituents love them more if they can do something about it.
You know, Liz, it seems like a lot of people talk about wanting more energy production, but when it comes to voting for it or doing something about it, it just doesn't happen. And that is a puzzle to me as well, because clearly, if we're going to bring the price of energy down, we've got to produce more.
You know,
that's simple.
Senator, and by the way, thank you so much for joining us today. But, you know, the Gulf is basically, I think, at a third of the levels it was before the administration decided to put the Gulf of Mexico into protective custody. But what do you make of this other argument that, you know, so what if you allow drilling to happen in the Gulf? Whoever's drilling there will just sell it to China and won't help the U.S. And, you know, what is it, 200,000, 500,000 barrels a day? And it's going to take about 10 years for that oil to come online anyway. What do you make of that argument?
Well, what we have to do is get a bigger supply. The world supply affects our prices, and we've got to have more supply in the world. We've got to start now. If we do start now, then that will affect the prices immediately, because people will see that it is going to come online. And the Gulf of Mexico is our second biggest asset next to Alaska and the Arctic Ocean. And we have been really idle since the president put the moratorium in place. There have been a few here and there permits issued, but not enough to make a difference. We have thousands of leases that are not being explored because this artificial motorium is on the permitting process.
Well, it's been a real problem, even for the shallow water drillers. We know, we've watched that story, so it would certainly help to let them get back to commerce and back to business. Yet, there is very little love at this point, Senator, for the big oil companies, particularly because they have gotten tax incentives over the years, and they continue to make billions in profit. They, of course, pay billions in taxes as well, but billions in profits through both good times and bad, high oil, low oil. No matter what, they're making money. Why do they need a crutch when they're walking just fine?
They are a business in this country that creates jobs and has stockholders. Why would we treat one section of an industry different from all the other businesses in our country? Why would we tax one set of businesses differently from the others?
They're getting incentives differently from other industries. The railroads don't get that kind of incentive.
No, what the administration is trying to do is take away the manufacturing incentive. Other manufacturing companies have it. We want to encourage manufacturing in our country, but now they want to take it off the big oil companies and leave it on for the big other manufacturers. Where is the fairness there? Secondly, the oil companies are plowing it back in. They're doing research into clean forms of energy, new sources of energy. They are adding to our job creation. I don't think that once you start doing that as a policy, what is going to say, well, AT&T, you're making too much money, we're going to tax you different from Verizon. I mean,
all right. Well,
it just
thank
isn't
you.
a good policy.
Senator, it was so good to be with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your insights. Well, maybe a millionaire's tax does not bother you because you don't make $1 million a year. But what about mileage taxes? Do you drive?
Well, we're talking to somebody who wants Washington to take more